First tonight, Donald Trump has spoken repeatedly and at length about how much he loves peace. But now he's seemingly changed tack and is threatening that Washington might go into Nigeria guns a-blazing, as he put it. The Nigerian government has denied that it is failing to protect its Christian population from Islamist extremists after President Trump again threatened military action. Nigeria has, of course, long suffered from Islamist extremist groups such as Boko Haram and ISWAP, who are known to conduct mass killings and kidnappings in rural communities across the north of the country. Both Christians and Muslims have been affected. Donald Trump said the US might send in troops to wipe out Islamist groups conducting the attacks against what he described as our cherished Christians. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from Washington, D.C. by Arise correspondent Anyeze Osakwe. Good to see you, Anyeze. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. First of all, there are reports sort of flying around that the Nigerian President Bola Tinubu is due in Washington on Tuesday for a meeting at the White House. Can you confirm whether such a meeting is scheduled to take place?
Good evening, Charles. It's good to be with you. In short, there have been so many reports flying around today about, President Tinubu allegedly having to go to the U.S. to meet with President Trump. But no, essentially a senior aide to President Tinubu, Temitope Ajayi, just a couple of hours ago debunked that, saying that, he went as far as to saying that if President Tinubu was to go to the U.S., if he was to have a meeting at the White House, it would be with President Trump and not Vice President J.D. Vance, as was previously suggested. So as of now, no, there are no scheduled meetings between the leaders of both countries. And of course, this, as you said, this is coming after a weekend of a lot of back and forth over, President Trump essentially saying that he was designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern. It comes after him essentially threatening Nigeria to get its act together unless he would send in, a military intervention to defeat Islamist terrorists. And, I think a lot of this speaks to the fact that so many of these conversations that are taking place on such a sensitive issue are taking place so publicly. They're taking place on social media, on Twitter, on President Trump's, platform, Truth Social. So when it comes to real diplomatic conversations that go on behind closed doors, as of now, none of that has really taken place. But, we'll be watching to see if that meeting does happen, because it would be key if it does.
Indeed, and I have to just say that we lost you a little bit at the beginning. Your line sort of went a little bit wonky there, but we can hear you loud and clear now, and we get the gist of most of what you were saying. We've heard from Nigerian government officials, just literally an hour ago, I spoke to one of them, that communication has been taking place at the highest level between the Aso Rock presidential villa in Abuja and the White House in Washington, where you are. So that suggests that the diplomatic wheels are starting to turn, doesn't it? Although I'm not sure whether at this stage you can gauge for us whether they are turning in a positive direction.
Absolutely. And I think, it's definitely a significant development, as you said, that, just within the last hour, you heard that these conversations are taking place. But a conversation that has been brought up as, this story has kind of unfolded is the fact that when it comes to diplomacy and public diplomacy for this administration, it hasn't necessarily been top of mind. Nigeria still doesn't have any ambassadors at this stage, almost 2 years into this administration. And I think the challenges that come with that are starting to show the fact that, like I said, so many conversations have been taking place on social media. So many conversations are involving all of these different voices, whether it's a senior aide or a spokesperson or the presidency or the president's Twitter. There are a lot of kind of conflicting pieces of information that are going specific posts in government. So until we actually hear that is happening, it's hard to say whether it's a positive development or not.
Indeed, and again, your line went a bit sort of wonky there, but hopefully it'll hold up. You are, of course, in Washington. What's the extent of coverage of this story in the American media? I mean, is it being discussed much in the newspapers and on television? If so, what are they making of the comments by President Trump of unilaterally going into Nigeria, guns a-blazing, as he said?
I mean, I think that, as far as I've seen, there's been quite a lot of coverage on this topic. To be honest, I think anything that President Trump does or says is very closely watched in the U.S. All the major newspapers have essentially taken it: NPR, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. So it definitely is being discussed. I think in terms of what they're making of his comments, like a lot of things in American media, it essentially depends on which platforms you're looking at. This is a topic that essentially gained popularity with a lot more right-wing, conservative people and groups as well. We know Senator from Texas, Ted Cruz, was really at the forefront of this conversation. So if you're looking more at the right-wing, outlets, they would say that, yes, there is a Christian genocide taking place in Nigeria. Whereas if you look at some of the less right-wing ones, they're pointing more to the fact that Nigerians are being essentially targeted, irrespective of whether they're Christian or whether they're Muslim. This is an issue that affects all Nigerians. So in terms of the way it's being seen in the States, it really depends on which platform you're looking at. But yes, it is absolutely being covered here. And that guns a-blazing comment definitely caught a lot of people's attention, for sure.
Well, it certainly caught our attention here in Nigeria. I mean, we're hearing a lot of evangelical Christian voices speaking out against the Nigerian government and how they're handling this issue of the alleged killing of Christians. Are there any voices coming out in support of the Nigerian government at all?
No, there definitely have been. I mean, former Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso essentially reiterated these comments that, it's important to emphasize that Nigeria is a sovereign nation and that the insecurity that we face does not distinguish based on religious, ethnic, or political beliefs. So essentially, the posts that the government or government officials are retweeting are the ones that are in support. But it definitely is being shown. I mean, this is an issue that the Nigerian government and supporters have said that, like I said, it's affecting all Nigerians. It's not necessarily distinguishing whether you're Christian or Muslim. So we'll definitely be looking out for more of that as well as the story develops and unfolds. And of course, whether that meeting takes place, that will be all important to watch this week.
Indeed. I think what I meant, Anieze, was whether or not there are voices in America that are coming out in support of the Nigerian government.
So in the U.S., insofar as I have seen, not as of yet, but, we'll definitely keep watching. We know that at least when it comes to President Trump and his supporters, the party that's, in power right now, they very much push this kind of right-wing conservative agenda that it's the Christians that are being targeted. It's a Christian genocide, and they're coming, they're coming to essentially help and figure out how to aid the Christians in Nigeria, since at the end of the day, that is his political base, and those are the people that elected him into power. So as far as I've seen, the general consensus when it comes to the right-wing media are very much against what the Nigerian government is saying.
Anieze, thank you very much indeed. Do keep across developments for us, as I'm sure you would, and just keep us updated as much as you can and as soon as you can. Anieze Osakwe is our RISE correspondent. She was talking to me on the line there from Washington, D.C.